Good morning, no, good afternoon. We're now here in the session that is about strategies for integrated mobility solutions. And mobility is one of the key issues for a smart city, so it's a very important session to me. My name is Andreas Trisko. I'm from the city administration of Vienna. I'm hosting this session, and our partners here are giving their shows, so I think we're really short of time, so we should start. Pedro Vidal, he's from the Chile Transport Ministry, will start his presentation. Thank you.
Bien, mi presentación la haré ahora en castellano. Les quiero presentar un proyecto que trabajamos en conjunto, una empresa de telecomunicaciones, una empresa de analítica y una empresa proveedora de hardware para telecomunicaciones. La unidad de ciudades inteligentes es una unidad que depende del Ministerio de Transportes y trabaja en lógicas de innovación, y de alguna manera estamos abordando algunas temáticas que van llevando a cambiar un poco el paradigma de la forma como se ha venido haciendo tradicionalmente la planificación y la gestión del transporte. Para eso hemos definido 6 líneas de trabajo que corresponde una a la movilidad ciudadana, movilidad informada, medida, innovadora, corporativa y eficiente. Particularmente el proyecto se basa en movilidad medida. Y bajo 3 líneas de trabajo, primero una exploración, segundo un diseño y finalmente una implementación. Como decía, se trabaja en lógicas de innovación. Finalmente, los resultados de estos proyectos se tienen que presentar a la autoridad, quien decide finalmente si estos se replican o se escalan o finalmente se detienen. El proyecto en sí lo que busca es usar la información que tiene la red de telefonía móvil para poder explorar nuevas herramientas en la planificación del transporte. Primero les voy a presentar un video introductorio del proyecto.
La planificación de ciudades siempre ha sido un reto. Cuantos más coches tenemos, menos espacio hay para la gente. Afortunadamente, la tecnología moderna ofrece nuevas posibilidades. Cuando la gente se mueve con teléfonos móviles, las tarjetas SIM se conectan con antenas. Esto genera una enorme cantidad de datos. Después de procesar y anonimizar, los datos se pueden utilizar para la comprensión de los patrones actuales de movilidad urbana. Las ciudades tienen zonas donde la densidad de tráfico aumenta justo antes y después de las horas de oficina. Como resultado, los atascos de tráfico son muy comunes. La comprensión de los patrones de movilidad da a las autoridades de transporte un input muy valioso para la implementación de soluciones dedicadas a mejorar el flujo de tránsito y evitar atascos. Al planificar la infraestructura de transporte, es importante entender cómo y por qué se mueven las personas. Hasta ahora, las matrices de origen-destino son basados en encuestas que consumen tiempo y dinero. Mediante el uso de datos basados en la red, obtenemos una comprensión más exacta del origen y destino y, lo más importante, por qué lo están haciendo. El metro es la columna del transporte de Santiago. Nuestro análisis mostró por qué es tan popular. El metro mueve 7 veces más pasajeros durante las horas pico y las personas que lo usan se desplazan un 20% más rápido que las que lo hacen en la superficie. Sin embargo, el sistema de transporte necesita de la mejora continua para mantener y aumentar su popularidad. Es la única forma de frenar el aumento constante en el número de automóviles en las calles. El enfoque innovador de combinar el análisis a largo plazo y las herramientas modernas aprovecha las huellas digitales que todos dejamos al desplazarnos con nuestros dispositivos móviles. De esta manera, todos contribuimos a mejorar la calidad de vida al ayudar a planificar el espacio urbano de acuerdo a nuestras necesidades reales.
Bueno, para este proyecto se definieron 3 casos de uso. Un primer caso fue analizar una zona de Santiago y determinar cuántas personas ingresaban y salían de esa zona y cuántas personas permanecían en el mismo lugar. Básicamente, lo que se produjo desde ahí fue una medición que se hizo durante el mes de noviembre del año pasado hasta enero de este año. Noviembre, como un mes normal o típico de estudio, queríamos evaluar qué pasaba en el mes de diciembre, que tiene muchas fiestas y hay poca información sobre lo que ocurre en ese periodo, porque siempre uno busca aquellos meses o datos que son de estilo normal. y queríamos también evaluar el periodo estival y qué pasaba también con la movilidad en ese periodo. El segundo caso de uso tiene que ver con dos zonas de Santiago y ver cómo fluía el tráfico y la movilidad entre esas dos zonas, básicamente determinando cuánta gente se movía, cuáles eran los tiempos de viaje y a qué hora empezaban los movimientos de ambos grupos. Y el tercer caso de uso, como bien explicado el video, corresponde a determinar y comparar los flujos y las velocidades de desplazamiento del transporte en superficie y del transporte de metro. Una de las cosas positivas que tenemos en Santiago es que la línea de telefonía móvil que está en el metro es distinta a la línea de telefonía móvil que está en superficie, por lo tanto permitió hacer esa separación y poder hacer esas comparaciones. Aquí hay un ejemplo de algunos estudios, algunos esquemas de estudios que se realizaron y algunos de los resultados que quería mencionar fue, por ejemplo, lo que está graficado ahí y que está marcado corresponde al traslado de la hora punta el día de Año Nuevo, cuando es fiesta, y cómo de alguna manera esas decisiones muchas veces son poco informadas, que uno toma básicamente a través de intuición esas decisiones. Ahora contamos con datos reales que pueden llevarnos a tomar decisiones cada vez mejor. Lo segundo tenía que ver con cuán rápido se movía el metro y cuánta gente desplazaba el metro en comparación al transporte público que estaba en la superficie. Finalmente, después de realizar este proyecto, me gustaría compartir algunos desafíos y conclusiones. Primero, nos dimos cuenta que al principio, cuando partimos con este proyecto, detectamos que lo más relevante era poder capturar información. Pero luego nos dimos cuenta que a pesar que podíamos capturar información de diferentes fuentes, no teníamos la capacidad de análisis, ni internamente dentro de las unidades técnicas, no teníamos la capacidad de hacernos cargo de esta tremenda cantidad de información. ¿Cómo y de qué manera íbamos a romper esa lógica e incorporar este tipo de nuevo de herramientas? Entonces dijimos que era importante entonces incorporar la analítica y empezar a incorporar nuevos partners en el proceso de analítica de transporte. Pero finalmente, después nos dimos cuenta que a pesar de tener la información, que a pesar de tener la analítica, los tomadores de decisiones no están muy acostumbrados a tomar las decisiones con esta información. Básicamente ahí nos vimos enfrentados a los planificadores de transporte que de alguna manera utilizan sus modelos propios de transporte que ya están instalados en el ministerio y son, digamos, desde la mirada del planificador 100% confiables. Entonces, introducir esta analítica de la Big Data en un modelo de transporte tradicional como el de 4 capas parece ser no trivial. Y por lo tanto, ahí lo que ocurrió fue chocar básicamente con el cambio de paradigma de los planificadores. Y ahí estamos trabajando, ver cómo incorporamos nuevas metodologías en el transporte que sean capaces de incorporar estas nuevas herramientas. Y eso pasa también por trabajar con la academia y trabajar con los propios funcionarios públicos. Finalmente, vimos una tremenda oportunidad de mejorar. Al principio creíamos que la obtención de información solo se lograba a través de la sensorización y eventualmente a través de algún tipo de herramienta del estilo crowdsourcing. Pero al descubrir que fuera de transporte habían otros ámbitos que sí contaban con información que nos podría servir para tomar decisiones, nos dimos cuenta que era una gran oportunidad trabajar con las empresas que conformamos este grupo de trabajo y con la cual pudimos llegar a estos resultados. Finalmente, y sin duda, el trabajo colaborativo fue muy interesante. Desde el ámbito de transporte pudimos especificar de mejor manera nuestros requerimientos. Desde la autoridad pudimos ver de alguna manera también cuál era nuestro plan futuro para poder incorporar este tipo de herramientas y ayudar también a la industria y a las empresas a ver qué tipo de servicio es el que nosotros en el futuro pronto, digamos, necesitamos. Muchas gracias.
Pues muchas gracias por su ponencia. Vamos a seguir. We're continuing now with Mr. Ayman Smadi. He's the Chief Executive Director of Transport of the Greater Amman Municipality.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. What I'm going to do in the 10 minutes that I'm allocated is to give you just a little brief and some metrics on the city of Amman and some of the challenges that we have in mobility, and then highlight some of the main concepts we're doing to be more innovative and improve the mobility system in Amman. The buttons are not working. There. So my city today is about 3.5 million. We're approaching 4 million people. One of the highlights, given the location of the city of Amman, is actually what happens in the region. So we are dealing with a lot of migration. I know Europe now is talking about migration, but we added about 1.5 million people in less than 3 years. So it's extremely difficult at the city level to be able to accommodate this kind of growth. I mean, you have plans and forecasts for 20 years, but to actually deal with an influx of migrants who are incorporated and integrated within the society has been extremely difficult. One of the key challenges that we have is that there has been a dependence on private cars. This is for a number of reasons, but today we have about 1 million cars in Amman, and we are actually approaching European ratios in terms of automobile ownership per population. Unfortunately, that's not really matched by the income of individuals. So the key challenges for us is how to keep up with the demand and the rapid urbanization while we maintain balance and good livability, I guess, within the city itself. And since mobility touches upon everything from economy to environment to social aspects of citizens' life, it's very important that we are also sustainable and smart. So our key strategy is, as we do a paradigm shift, as we get people towards more sustainable modes, is to actually also work on getting more capacity, optimizing the capacity through technology and innovation. Just to give you an idea, what is the cost of mobility today in Amman? We're talking about billions in terms of value of time, in terms of fuel spent, and most importantly, to be competitive economically, this is affecting our individual, our citizens' ability to get jobs, especially among the youth. We have a very young society. Almost 60% of the population is under the age of 25. And this is especially true for the female population, that their participation in the workforce is very limited, even though they are very, very educated. And a big part of that is the lack of mobility. So our strategy is quite simple. We have to move towards more public transportation, which means that everything has to be integrated because the citizens expect a higher level of service. They are used to their cars, they are used to their mobile phones, to technology. Our system has to match this. And I must admit that over the last 10, 15 years, we have lagged behind in terms of providing an adequate level of service. So we started our program by providing some tangible improvements to the citizens so that they can see that actually, working on public transport, whether it's buses or whether it's infrastructure, we started with the biggest bus operator providing smart card payment, having LED and LCD signs on buses. We are working on street furniture, etc. But we know that we have to develop more capacity, specifically rapid transit modes, and that's why we embarked on a bus rapid transit project for the city of Amman. So the way that we are using this BRT project, we want to use it as a catalyst so that it can improve the whole transport environment. So it's not only about the 32 kilometers where we are implementing the system, we are adopting information systems, payment systems that will be universal for the city as a whole. And we view that as a method to integrate other services because we have a lot of unorganized, if you will, public transport services. So it's very key that we are using this technology to bring these players into the game. So basically, by providing them subsidy through equipment and participation in the system, we hope that that will contribute to improving the level of service for the user overall. I'm going to skip this, but basically, I guess from a city's perspective, since we are talking about smart city, the theme that has been reoccurring since all morning is that every city is unique. And the role of the city probably as a facilitator is that I should have the framework and the architecture, and then I should have some kind of open source or open data where I can encourage innovation. And I will highlight that with a couple of examples. So we established a traffic management center, but at the same time, we don't have a lot of funding to have lots of sensors. In fact, for a city of 4 million, I only have about 130 traffic signals. I have probably about 50 cameras, so I don't have enough to get information about the system. So I have to go to non-traditional methods, namely mobile phones and other methods, to collect my data and performance about the system. The idea of actually having innovation, it has to be with the private sector. So we basically provide the data that we have. This is an example where we are working with a company that has basically an application that will improve taxi service for about 11,000 taxis in Amman. And their application is quite simple. They worked with the phone companies, with the mobile providers. They can determine the location of the users with triangulation. They hook them up with a taxi, the closest taxi. They send a text message sort of by confirmation. And probably many of you are saying, well, Uber already does this. But it's important that we also bring in the 11,000 taxis that we have so that, again, we elevate the service. With street lighting, for instance, we are switching to LED street lights as many cities. But of course, for us, this also represents an opportunity for Wi-Fi, for communication infrastructure. I'm using the same infrastructure, the light poles, so that I can install devices. I'm providing actual sensing, actual access to the infrastructure where I can also piggyback by installing cameras and other devices, in addition to the savings that I get from energy reduction. We also are looking at alternative fuel and electric vehicles, namely. For those of you who don't know, Jordan doesn't have a source of energy. We actually import almost 98% of our energy, even though we live in a region that is very rich with oil. So the concept for electric vehicles and electric buses in Jordan is to actually use solar power generation. So we have a pilot that the city is developing in partnership with the private sector to do solar power charging. As part of that system, again, we are looking at smart solution for reservation, for managing the network. The idea is that we will have a clearinghouse so that people will subscribe to one of the providers, so that we ensure that they're getting their electricity from solar power generation rather than from the standard plug. And this is what I have. Thank you very much.
Next to talk to us is Álvaro Nicolás del Ayuntamiento de Barcelona, and he is the mobility advisor.
Hay aquí un cronómetro que creo que debería estar funcionando. Well, a nivel, well, what I'm going to explain about the Barcelona case, it's going to be the integration that we are providing within all the different means of transport, mainly the public services means of transport in the Municipality of Barcelona. And to do that, our framework plan, it is called the mobility plan, the urban mobility plan of the Municipality of Barcelona. Well, as every mobility plan, it starts with a diagnosis of the situation, in the current situation now in Barcelona. And for that, we analyze what is the current situation about the emissions, the different contamination emissions that we have. And we also analyze what is the situation about the impact of the noise that the traffic is producing in the inhabitants of Barcelona. In both cases, I mean, we have a regulation coming from the European Union, and we have a regulation coming from also the World Health Organization, telling that we are surpassing in both cases, both all the contaminations and the emissions, and also in the noise that we are producing, that we are above the levels that are permitted for both. Also, in the case of the number of injuries and the number of deaths and accidents that we are having, it's a problem that we want to tackle. To do that, we set a number of objectives that are common objectives, I think, for everyone that is working on mobility at this point. that we want to have a mobility that is safe, sustainable, equitable, and efficient. Understanding safe by reducing the number of accidents, sustainable by reducing the energy that we need to move everyone in the city and to reduce both emissions and noise. Understanding equitable, that it's more affordable for everyone that is living in the city, and understanding efficient by those trips or freight that we have to, in any case, distribute around the city, that we do those in the most efficient possible way. So there was a current situation, and we had to move either to the scenario in which we were going if we didn't do our plan, and another scenario that it's our desired scenario. What is the priorities in this scenario that we are targeting? The first priority, and we took all the different means that we have in the landscape of mobility in Barcelona. Our priority is the mobility of pedestrians. Our second priority is bicycle. Our third priority is public transportation, freight movement, and then improving the efficiency of the private transportation. And we said, we analyzed what is the current situation, and we set a target to improve both, well, the three times, but I mean, to improve the number of trips that we are doing by foot, the number of trips that we are doing by bicycle, and the number of trips that we are doing by public transportation, which at the end of the day meant the number of trips that we will do at the end of our plan in public transportation will decrease. Each of these priorities have different key measures that in which I'm going to focus in the public transportation ones, which are mainly these ones that I'm going to explain now. The main or the key proposal that we have for improving, taking into account what is the competences, what is the field of competences that the municipality of Barcelona has. The key measure is going to be to restructure the bus network of the bus of Barcelona, which means that we are going to go from this situation that you see now in this map to something that it's like this, which means that we're going to reorganize the whole bus network for two main reasons. One it's going to be that it's going to be more easily understandable for everyone that it's not today not using buses. What happened with buses today is that they have very loyal users. I mean, everyone has in their own neighborhood or in their own place of work their own bus line that they use because they know where it starts and where it ends. And we are going to change this a little bit to make it more easier to understand for anyone coming to Barcelona, to all the citizens of Barcelona. And the second good thing that it's going to have to reorganize the network like this is that we are going to be able to provide more priority in these new lines. I mean, when you have a bus network that is scattered in the whole city of Barcelona, it's very difficult to give priority in all the lines of the network, of the bus network systems. Whereas if you reduce the number of streets in which you have bus, and if you are able to do two things. The first one, it's to give a priority space, to create both lanes that are just for buses. And the second thing that you are able to do is to give time priority, to reorganize the traffic lights in a way that they can travel faster. So this is the third thing that we were trying to do with this bus network. It's to connect the whole city of Barcelona with just one interchange. So the same way that you're using today the metro system, in which most of the time you will have to make at least one interchange to get from your origin to your destiny. We are using the same logic for the bus network. I mean, we are connecting every point in Barcelona with just one interchange to get from your origin to your destiny. The other good thing is that we are going to be able to increase the frequency of these buses circulating in these prioritized bus lanes. And the third thing that we are going to also achieve is that we are going to minimize the number of places in which this interchange happens from one lane to another, and also taking into consideration the underground network, the rail network, and also all the buses coming from outside Barcelona. So if you reduce the number of streets in which you have the buses circulating, you will be able to give priority also to the interchange points, which is what we are also taking a lot of care to do, to design properly all these interchange points. So we're also looking at all the buses that are entering Barcelona from the outside. At this point, well, this is very important because at this point we have around 605,000 vehicles entering the municipality of Barcelona at this point, and it's easy to get to this number. You just have to multiply the number of traffic lanes that you have entering Barcelona by around 20,000. That it's the number of vehicles that you can put inside each of these traffic lines, and then you get the number of around 50,000 vehicles that you're having inside of the municipality of Barcelona. So by reducing, but also applying the same strategy that we were saying inside of Barcelona, which means that giving priority to the buses, also in the entrance of the city of Barcelona, we will be able to achieve what we are trying also to achieve inside of Barcelona, giving priority to the buses instead of having more and more cars circulating in the roads and in the streets. We also have, we are also trying to integrate in this strategy the tourist mobility. We have a huge impact of population in Barcelona that it's not permanent population, that it's coming just for a visit. So how this population that is just visiting Barcelona moving in when they are here, because at the moment they use a lot of taxis, for instance, coming from the airport. They use a lot of taxis to whenever they are close to an underground station, but with this new bus network that we are planning, it will be easier for anyone visiting Barcelona to really make use of this bus network. We are also redesigning all the places in which these buses coming from outside of Barcelona and the tourist buses are stopping to visit the interest part of Barcelona, the museums. We're also caring a lot about having a bus systems, buses that are accessible for anyone using them, which is also something that we have advanced a lot in the city of Barcelona, having about 80% of all the fixed infrastructure, meaning the railway infrastructure, that it's already accessible for wheelchairs, and also we have I think that it's 60% of all the buses giving service to Barcelona that are also accessible for wheelchairs. Another key project that we are, I have run out of time, but another key project that we are working on, it's going to be an integrated, a new integrated, how would you say that? Well, what you use to travel in the public system service. We are going to have one like your credit card that it's going to be that you will be able to use this card to travel in all the different means of transport as you're using today in London, the Oyster car. Integrating also the sharing bicycle scheme, integrating also in this card the car sharing scheme, and also all the parking that we have outside and inside the roads and the streets, and last but not least, integrated also in this system all the railway infrastructure of Barcelona. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Also, next to speak to us is Mr. Christoph Claes from the Siemens Industries. He's the head of light rail and e-bus of the Siemens AG.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have heard a lot about a lot of challenges that are existing in terms of improving public transport. I would like to share a couple of thoughts, a couple of ideas with you, specifically to the potentials of the digitalization in terms of effects on improving public transport. And I think while all of us are still, and at least we are still in the process of really digging in and finding out the full potential of this digitalization, there are a lot of things that we can actually do today already in order to contribute to improve the situation. I think I don't have too much to dig in this one. We have taken an example of Jakarta. The urbanization and increasing inhabitants of cities and megacities has been a topic for a while, and we see it increasing. We have seen it in Amman, we are seeing it in Barcelona also. So this will increase, and this of course results in an increased need for public transport. And we see a lot of surveys where actually congestions and difficulties in public transport are named by inhabitants as topic issue number one in their daily life in the cities. The good news is, as mentioned, there is something we can do in order to improve. And without going into all the different systems and ideas that we have marked here on this page, systems that we are working on at Siemens, I would like to highlight specifically three topics that will make a difference in the years to come. The first one is an overall concept that we call guaranteed availability. Already today we are able to gather and to measure, to detect and to analyze information that is coming from different modes of transport in the city. We are already today able to get information on the technical status of trains and of wayside systems. So actually we can, and we are working on this, elaborate algorithms that are even able to predict certain types of failures in systems, certain types of variances in terms of reliability of the system. And this kind of predictability will have a big influence on the availability of the equipment, on improvement of maintenance cycles, etc. In the next stage, we think that we will see a much higher level of driverless trains, of driverless equipment in the cities. And that again will have a big impact. If we imagine that in a normal, at least German public transport operator, 60% of the operating costs are coming from the drivers, we can see that there is a big impact on the overall costing of such a system. Also, we have seen measurements where driverless operation results in substantial reduction of energy consumption with respective impact on environment, etc. A second area, let's say, of improvement is the utilization of assets. And we all know that the investments in public transport, they cost a lot of money. So the maximum and the optimal use of these systems is really of the essence. Specifically, as in many cities, of course, the resources, even the space is limited to ever increase the length of trains, the number of buses, etc. And what we can do actually is we are collecting and again we are analyzing data from different modes of transport which are operated in the city, from trains, from buses, even from shared car fleets, etc. So we can make online analysis on the use of the system at a specific point in time during the day. And again, use this information in order to forecast and to make predictions which modes of transport should be used in which parts of the city, in which parts of the day, so to ensure that the full fleets, the full assets as they are being used, and that the investments are really targeted into those parts of the assets that bring the most value. The third aspect, and that will, we think, change a life of a lot of people, and we are quite excited about it finally, is that we think that we can make the life of the passenger easier. We think we will be able to improve travel times, and we will also, let's say, be able to reduce stress level of passengers by making journeys more predictable. Again, this is an effect out of a use of digital information, where we can basically analyze the status of the systems at different times of the day and can make tailor-made passenger, let's say tailored end-to-end travel recommendations. We are combining this, for example, with an automatic and online ticketing system, so you don't have to queue up, in terms of if you want to change modes of transport. And passengers will be able to exchange means of transport very, very easily, and can be sure that, dependent on the time of the day, on the congestion even of the public transport system, they're making the right choice for the right part of the system. We're implementing a first system of this kind right now in Berlin, and basically we think that this will have an impact, hopefully, on the life of a lot of people. And in case of Berlin, I'm also hoping for this effect on the life for me and my family. This is one example, let's say, of an integrated system that we are building today. In Riyadh is one of the biggest civil construction sites on this planet. It's the biggest urban rail development project at the time being. And there we are building a metro line, complete driverless, again, digital. We are collecting the information from the train, from the wayside, and the predictions are that we will receive an availability and a reliability of a system which we have not seen before. Also, in terms of, let's say, passenger information, passenger concept, easy travel, this system will set new standards, not only in terms of passenger entertainment, that the trains will also have some new features respectively, but there will be a lot of information available for the passengers in order to make sure that they really choose the easiest, the quickest, and the least expensive way to get from A to B in Riyadh in the years to come. So we think that we will be able to contribute not only tomorrow, but we can do this already today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next to speak is Sonja Häkkilä from Tekes, the Finnish funding agency for innovation.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So I'm Sonja Häkkilä from Tekes, the Finnish funding agency for innovation. Let's see, thanks. So I'm going to talk about today a quite radical approach, how we actually transforming the way we use the existing transport system. And we call this concept mobility as a service. First, a few words about Tekes. So Tekes is a public funding agency that uses annually more than 500 million euros to fund projects conducted by companies of all sizes and research institutions, and this is how we share the risk with private funders. We also share our experience on the topics, and we network the companies to each other and internationally. Well, mobility. Of course, mobility has to be easy. We all use transportation and mobility many times a day, each day. So the first thing is that it has to be easy. But it also has to be affordable, because transportation is the second biggest cost of households. after housing. So it really is a big expense of people. Well, of course, it has to be digitalized like any industry. So transportation should be, and as fast as possible, if you ask me. But I also feel that the future of mobility will be much more personalized. And I'm not talking about personal cars, but actually making other transport alternatives to seem as a personal solution that is really designed for me. And mobility has to be seamless. It has to be seamless in one city, but also throughout cities and in the world. So I would like to travel from Helsinki to here in Barcelona all seamlessly, so I could actually get all my transportation and pay for them in the same application, for example. So I'm talking about a door-to-door mobility solution that really takes me from my home or wherever I want to live to my destination, on time, always, and there has to be a service promise. So I'm talking about mobility as a service, which will actually make mobility, meaning all travel modes, as one service. A service that actually wants to buy and decide to pay for it. And that's what moves our thinking from the current existing transport system that is public funded, or then you have a private car, to actually a bundle of services that follow the normal principles of service design and service delivery. And that includes a service promise, meaning that if I decide to pay for something, I really get value for my money. So the value in this case would be that I actually get to my destination on time. That easy, but maybe not that easy to actually perform. But that's what we're aiming at. So we are moving from privately owned vehicles to sharing assets. That's clear, following the sharing economy trend, like in many industries, but also in transportation. People, especially the young, do not want to own cars or even drive them themselves. They actually prefer to do something else, like being online during that trip or that ride. And they just want to get use of the vehicle, of something that they can get to their destination. But it's all about the thing to really get the result, not actually performing the act themselves. And by sharing assets, we can get a lot more capacity from the existing transport system. So we have so many cars, but actually cars are used less than 5% of the time. And the rest of the time, 95%, they are only standing still, empty, no one is using them. So we already have that capacity. We can just make much more efficient use of it. For example, Uber and Airbnb are great examples of utilizing the existing capacity. So the cars and the apartments, they are already paid for. So why not even make more money with them by sharing the assets? Well, the key, or in the center of this mobility as a service concept, are so-called mobility operator companies, or mobility integrators, if you wish. So these new integrated companies will actually integrate different travel modes into one service. They will integrate public transit to taxis, to Ubers, to car sharing companies, to flights, to bike share, to anything that the city or the platform provides. They will integrate them to a personalized solution to the end user. And that is how they can get much more out of the existing transport system. Until now, we have been optimizing all travel modes separately. We are optimizing, of course, the taxi system, the fleet that we have. We are optimizing public transit, but we should actually optimize the whole transport system, including all travel modes. I think there we have a lot more potential in gaining efficiency and cost savings in transport operations. And of course, the efficiency will be money savings for customers, but also the profit for the mobility operator companies. Well, we have to have roaming in transport services in the same way as in telecommunications. Actually, the concept of mobility as a service is very similar to the telecom industry. I contract with one of the operators, telecom operators, pay a monthly fee, and then I can use anything. I can call and text, use the internet. So in the same way in transport, we should be able to contact one operator and use anything that operator provides. We are already starting demonstrations on mobility as a service next year. These demonstrations are funded by TechEst. These mobile operator companies have to utilize the open interfaces to transport services. So mobility as a service is much more than some startups integrating different transport modes, but actually we need to open the interfaces to transport services. Already Taxi Union, all taxis in Finland and the National Railway Company are doing the process of opening their interfaces. We have a lot of public support on mobility as a service. The Finnish Ministry of Transport and Communications are even revising the legislation to better support mobility as a service. We have public funding and all other kind of initiatives. And of course we have a lot of international cooperation. Actually the initiative of mobility as a service has gained a lot of international interest, and we are now developing it further in global cooperation. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. The next to speak and last to speak is Sébastien Sabatier from Thales.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I will introduce an industrial view about the technology, how we can bring a multimodal platform for smart mobility. This technology is already existing, and we are improving our platform. My presentation will be split in two parts. First part will be a short movie. It's better than a long slide to make you understand what we are bringing. And the second part will be with few slides just to highlight some key benefits about our multimodal platform. So let's start the movie.
More and more of the world's population are leaving rural areas to live in cities. It is expected by the year 2050, 70% of the world's population will live in cities. Growing urbanization is placing many challenges on cities, such as traffic congestion, pollution, security, and the overall happiness of their public. To help cities overcome these challenges, Thales has developed an innovative smart city platform with a focus on smart mobility and smart security. The Thales Smart Mobility Platform is the world's first multimodal platform federating all forms of transport: metro, tram, bus, taxi, and private vehicle into an integrated operations center. The platform provides an environment where people, process and technology will work in conjunction to enhance the quality of life of city citizens and visitors. Data will be centralized and shared, and through smart analytics, new services will be offered to citizens and improvements made in planning and decision making. A main control room will be the nerve center of the system, offering a synthesized common operational picture with key performance indicators for operators and key city officials. The Smart Mobility Platform is modular and expandable and includes 8 key operational functions. We will now take you on the journey in time to visualize these functions in operation. The city needs to plan for a large-scale event, a New Year's Eve celebration, which will be a world showcase. Thanks to the capacity of the platform to model and forecast population movements and underlying transport demands, the New Year's event can be better planned and fluid mobility to and from the event guaranteed. Crowd behavior modeling will enable operators to better manage the flows of people at the event and ensure their safety. Specific standard operating procedures for the event will be developed and stored into the system and retrieved once the event is in operation. The use of standard operating procedures ensures an efficient and rapid response to incidents in crisis. Managing the transport network in the city is a complex, multi-layered and multifunctional process involving a range of diverse agencies. Thanks to the approach of Thales, the platform will play a key role in supporting and facilitating each agency while also providing a transverse coordination of all agency operations. The platform will manage the dissemination of real-time transport information to the public across a wide range of media. New web-based applications will be provided to the public, such as point-to-point multimodal travel itineraries and comprehensive real-time transport schedules. Real-time data acquisition and modelling enables the platform to optimise travel time and improve safety across the transport network. Operators will be helped by the real-time video analysis systems based on augmented reality and deployed for public area monitoring to improve safety and security. Smart video analytics such as crowd density, facial recognition and abnormal behaviour will enable operators to further ensure the safety of the public and to communicate with them in a smart way. Emergency incidents will be immediately reported by the system to ensure a rapid and coordinated response to resolve the incident and ensure continuous operations. Managing real-time information from the field, coming from different sources such as a citizen application or a security officer, will enable operators to respond in an efficient way to any kind of incident while facilitating stakeholders gaining in situational awareness. Thales is committed to bring its expertise to improve transport efficiency through the automation of business processes and SOPs, reducing reaction time and improving the resolution of incidents. Key enabler for delivering smart city benefits is the ability to harness the power of data through advanced data mining. Big data and advanced analytical tools will enable operators and management to better plan and make the right decisions. Lastly, the Thales Smart Mobility platform provides a virtual reality training facility to educate young engineers and to showcase the system to visiting VIPs as a means to continuously push the boundaries of human excellence.
Okay. So, just to give you some highlights of key benefit of this platform. Everybody knows these figures. It's well known now around the world that 7 billion today live in cities, and in 2015, 70% of the 9 billion will live in cities. Today, the main challenge of cities is 70% is regarding traffic congestion. After is security, which is the opposite of a citizen. The citizen, the first priority is the security for him, for his family. And for political, the priority most of the time is mobility. This is the standard approach. Traditional cities, they are working as a silo. And our concept is to make everything connected and bring the information to all different stakeholders. This is an operational view where Thales can perform excellency of technology. First one, of course, is urban security. Second one is urban mobility, and we will highlight some key benefit about urban multimodal platform. And the third one is urban computing with big analytics. Some key benefit on the smart city multimodal platform. It minimizes congestion, trip duration, accident, and of course pollution. It increases share of renewable, increase energy efficiency, of course. Affordability, mobility cost for end users. Allow smartphone applications such as Journey Planner. It's already integrated, and we are able to integrate third-party application. Managing transport needs for large-scale event or emergency. Integrate management and operation of transport system. Big analytics, which is the most important today. Not all the data coming from the different operator, but also data coming from the public, such as social media. And it's also designed for multi-agency coordination. Our solution meets requirements in different phases. And I leave my presentation with few examples in smart urban mobility. Multimodal Journey Planner, which is a Thales application. And traffic management systems. Also free flow tolling system. Fleet management for bus, tram, and underground. Parking management systems. And everything is integrated in this platform. This is few reference in Strasbourg, where we have an intelligent traffic management system in place since many years. In UK, nationwide, operation of National Traffic Information Services. In Australia, with Brisbane. And with the Paris airport in Charles de Gaulle and in Orly, where we are managing the parking of these two airports. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Great. We have some time left to discuss and to answer questions here on the podium. So I start with the audience. Are there any questions you can put? Please go to the microphone.
Thank you. My name is Susanna Krabak. I wonder if any of you is working with increasing in efficiency in car traffic by taking peers with you. I mean, if you, instead of traveling one in a car, travel 3 or 4 in a car, you can solve so many of the challenges that you were all talking about. And definitely smart systems can help provide these systems. Do any of you work with this as solutions?
Thank you for the question. So there's kind of a mobility package that each one personalizes the way they want. That can also include gamification and a lot of kinds of incentives. For example, if you share a ride with someone, you can get a free coffee from the nearby coffee shop. So I think there are many possibilities for that kind of push to using or increasing the efficiency and moving more environmentally friendly.
Hello. In the case of Barcelona, we have in the accesses in the highway accesses of Barcelona, where you have a toll. If the number of people that is traveling in that car is over 2, then you have a discount. And also we have in one of the corridor access in Barcelona and in special infrastructure, the way we are trying to plant in the other highways entering Barcelona, that it's especially for buses and also for high occupancy vehicles. And in the plan, we have also a measure that it's we are trying to find locations outside of Barcelona to construct parking places to actually put in place a carpooling infrastructure. So these 3 ways we are trying to work in the way you were saying to increase the number of people that is traveling in each of the cars entering Barcelona.
May I say also something? I think it's very Interesting question, because this is what's about sharing economy, and I think we're on the start. And the interesting thing is that the citizen is becoming an actor and an agent, an active agent. And with us, there are a lot of apps going on. You can organize transport from your parcel from one place to another. And also, it's like modern hitchhiking. And there are a lot of things going on. I think big issue is also that this is a new base for an economy, and there is where we are, all of us are struggling to see how will this end up, because this is questioning economy also.
Sí, quería complementar esa mirada en que, claro, efectivamente cuando se miran este tipo de estrategias solo desde una mirada de eficiencia, quizás lo empobrecemos todavía más. Y yo agregaría la mirada de experiencia de viaje. Al abordarlo desde el concepto de experiencia de viaje, es posible generar cambios de patrones de conducta sobre el patrón completo de la multimodalidad. Nosotros tenemos la teoría que incluso cambiando la experiencia de viaje de la caminata o del periodo de tiempo que uno camina, eventualmente podría ser un cambio del patrón completo de multimodalidad. Entonces asociaría el tema de eficiencia, pero también el tema de experiencia de viaje.
Thank you, gracias. Another question? So you're still thinking, so I will put one. We talked a lot about demand and offer and making it good for the traveler to join public transport. We talked a lot about efficiency and controlling data. We didn't talk so much about, but a lot of people said it, we have to change the habits of our transport, how we use transport, how we travel. So are there any ideas on the podium how you can change the habits? Because we're into change management, I think. If we talk about future transportation, you have the problems that everybody wants to drive in a car, and you already know driving a car, and we already know driving a car in a big city is not such a good idea. Not for the person who travels there, because it's stress and you have congestion, but it's also bad for the others. Are there some strategies you can come up with? And may I, as I'm also a bit in mobility planning in Vienna, just give you some really, really easy examples what I mean. So one thing is, what we are doing is we're helping people to make a party on the street, just to close down a street for an afternoon or for a whole day, to make a party there, to have divert yourself on the street, so you can get people, adapt them to the idea, hey, a street is a public space where I can live, where I can interact, play, and not only a place for cars, or some other things on that level. And I would like to discuss this a bit, what you see there to make people use traffic or change traffic habits.
Yeah, this is very interesting. I think there have to be good alternatives. So I think we are seeing trends of moving away from car ownership and driving, but we need to support that trend. And actually the work behind Mobility as a Service initiated from thinking of what kind of, or how are the future transport users. And there need to be good alternatives for car ownership, the meaning good public transport and other transport services. And I think we can do a lot by redesigning, setting the service in a new way. We, without any big investments, we can have the service that we have, but then just really personalize them. And the other options, either separate or together, need to offer the same level of service as private car. So I don't believe so much about saying people you should use this and you should do that, but actually we just need to create a much more attractive service that they want to use and they want to pay for.
Thank you. I think one of the main things also is to communicate. As we try to change the city, of course you have to have the alternative, and getting the alternative can be very politically demanding. Imagine, if you will, a road that carries 160,000 cars per day, and then people see you taking away 2 lanes, 3.5 meters each, and you tell them, I want to run buses, they will tell you you're crazy. So how do we get them to wait for 2.5 years until the project is done? Because I don't have buses today that run there. So communicating with the public so that they actually have the real cost of doing this, whether it's environmental, whether it's their time. And the other thing that worked really well for us, before we enforced parking management in the downtown area, we ran a free bus shuttle. So we said you can go to the downtown and celebrate, take your kids, go to restaurants, shopping. It's free, but you have to park your car, somewhere else. So to provide the alternative right away, I think, works well.
I would also like to, let's say, add a thought on this one. I hope it's not too abstract. Yeah? Generally speaking, I would be optimistic, not only generally in life or related to this topic by profession, but I think I'm really optimistic that the shift to public transport will work. I think to a certain extent also the normal rules of a market apply. Yeah? So there is a requirement and there is a satisfaction, let's say, of this requirement or of this need. And let's say 2 aspects from my side. I think the sooner and the quicker and the better we are able to offer services that actually address the needs that Sonia was illustrating, to have easy, cost-effective, convenient, reliable transport for everybody, the earlier people will obviously shift to use public transport. And so that's one aspect, and that's certainly also the industry that needs to contribute to that, in a significant manner. And of course, as in every market, certain rules apply in this market. And that's, of course, let's say, the role of the city and the politics to set certain rules for this public transport market that then also creates the correct incentives, be it parking policy and stuff like this. But I'm really convinced if those 2 things go hand in hand, we will see a huge shift to public transport in the next years.
Thank you. Is there another question?
Sí. Solo quería agregar dos factores adicionales. Desde el ámbito público es muy relevante lo que llamamos gobernanza, sobre todo cuando tenemos que abordar la experiencia de viaje, que es multimodal. La gobernanza desde el ámbito público de cómo soy capaz de gestionar la intermodalidad no es trivial. Entonces, ¿cómo responde desde lo público esa realidad? Y lo segundo, también considerando desde la gobernanza, tiene que ver con los temas de coordinación y sobre todo de liderazgo. Todo cambio social requiere de liderazgo. Entonces, por ejemplo, de los ejemplos que hemos escuchado, los liderazgos son bastante firmes desde la propia autoridad regional. Creo que para hacer transformaciones, sobre todo que tienen que ver en estos espacios, se requiere de liderazgos claros y definidos.
I also would like to share some cases of Barcelona. We are committed to, we run a fun exercise. Some weeks ago, we had our mobility week. So instead of having it when Europe was celebrating it, because we had elections at that time, we celebrated a month and a half ago. And one of the strategies that we had, we were running like workshops and conference trying to explain what is the situation with mobility in Barcelona. But for the day without cars, we tried to exactly do what you were explaining. Trying to make the people imagine what can happen with space in the city, with the space that it's not used by cars. Whenever you take cars out of some streets, you can use that space to circulate with bicycles more freely. You can use that space to walk, to make parties, to have kids painting in the streets, to celebrate some dinners. There's a lot of possibilities, and each neighborhood of Barcelona had their own street to actually implement with the help of neighborhood associations and other entities of Barcelona to really define a program on what could happen in that specific street, if cars were not there. But what it was fun when we were planning it's that, we have many events going on in Barcelona every weekend. For instance, a marathon we had 42 kilometers of Barcelona where you cannot have cars for more than half a day. And whenever you're celebrating that, I mean, no one complains about how it's going to be the traffic condition because they understand that it's the marathon going on. But when we said that we wanted to cut, like we cut, and I think that it was like 5 kilometers in total of Barcelona streets to celebrate our Day Without Cars Day. And of course, we got on the press a lot of headlines saying that, well, the traffic, congestion, what big problem we are going to have just because of, so, I mean, at the end, we understood from that it's a cultural matter. I mean, there is reasons why we are, people may accept to leave their car at home and move otherwise, I mean, during that day, and probably on a regular basis. But if you are saying them that you want to have a less contaminated with less emission city, it's a little bit more tricky. But the options are there, and the city works, and the city worked that day, both in the date of the marathon and in the day of without cars.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there another question? Okay, quick, because we're running out of time.
My name is Martin Rappos, working for RouteMonkey. We write optimization algorithms for mobility as a service. My question is primarily towards Sonia. What is your strategy in including electric and low carbon transport in the mobility as a service schemes? And do you cooperate?
Thank you. So mobility service creates a great platform for new kind of services because these mobility integrators, they actually collect a big amount of users, their customers. So that is a perfect platform for also new services to be integrated in. So at the same time, or in the beginning, when, for example, an car sharing company begins their business, they actually have, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of customers through the integrators. So I'm sure with mobility service we will see many new services, for example with electric cars or autonomous vehicles, and also about sharing the assets. So if cars, low emission cars, which are often more expensive, they can be shared with many people. Of course, we have more possibilities to utilize them. And we can also have newer and safer cars in shared use. So I think it will promote them, yes.
Okay, so I think we can close this session. Thank you very much to my colleagues here on the podium. Thank you to the audience for your attention. And to wrap it up, there is hope. We have to work on it. Thank you.